Hi, hello, shalom, my name is Haley Beckel, and I just spent the last 20 minutes trying to figure out how to pronounce these names. So let's get started. So Ibrahim was born on November 5th, 1615 to Ahmed I, the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, and Kosem Sultan, who was one of his favorites from his concubine, and she later became his wife. So Ibrahim's father died when he was only 2 years old. However, Ibrahim didn't inherit the throne until much later. His uncle Mustafa I took over, then it was his brother Osman, and finally his other brother Murad IV. And Murad actually executed 4 of his brothers, not including Ibrahim. Meanwhile, Ibrahim was locked up in the Kafis, which literally translates to the cage. Then after Murad's death, Ibrahim finally takes over the throne and becomes the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. But the funny thing is, Ibrahim didn't believe that his brother was actually dead. He had the body personally examined before agreeing to take over the throne. Some people say that Ibrahim suffered from mental illness. There were also reports of him having terrible headaches and attacks of physical weakness that likely were caused by the trauma from his early years, being locked up for so long. It was like 23 years. But that didn't stop Ibrahim from indulging himself. Rumor has it that he slept with almost 24 concubines a day. He also supposedly enjoyed having his concubine gather in the palace courtyard as he galloped around like a horse. He reportedly liked to have his bedroom filled with mirrors so he could see himself in action at every angle. Ibrahim also had a fetish for larger women. As the story goes, he became obsessed with the parts of a female cow. One would assume he was talking about the udders. He even had a cow modeled in gold and sent all over the Ottoman Empire. Because of his love for cow's anatomy, he was in search of a woman that could kind of fit that standard. So he sends his servants to go searching for the thickest woman in the land. And they return with a 350-pound Armenian woman nicknamed Sugar Cube. Ibrahim not only enjoyed his ladies, but also fashion. He liked to put jewels and flowers in his beard and in his hair as well. Speaking of fashion, he also really liked fur. Some sources claim that he would shave his own cats and insist that capes were a much better use for their soft fur. But it didn't stop there. For Ibrahim's wedding, he ordered a lord to carpet the entire palace in fur. The Sultan ended up marrying his 8th favorite concubine, Hamasa Sultan. Some sources say he fathered 18 children, while others say 12. Regardless, 3 of his sons ended up becoming sultans. One of the future sultans, Mehmed, Ibrahim was not so fond of. He apparently preferred the wet nurse's son over his own, who was slightly healthier. And when the boy's mother complained, he took the child from her arms and threw him into a pool. And the infant was fine. He just was left with a permanent scar on his forehead. But Ibrahim's fun didn't last for long. Soon the Ottoman people became unhappy with the Sultan, and the Venetians ended up blockading the Dardanelles, and resources became scarce. But of course, the lovely Ibrahim couldn't go on without his luxuries, and he put a bunch of taxes on the Ottoman people during a war economy. Then in 1647, the Grand Vizier Salih Pasha, Ibrahim's own mother, and the Saluh Islam plotted to kill Ibrahim and replace him with one of his own sons. But of course this attempt failed, and the Grand Vizier was executed and Ibrahim's mother was exiled from the harem. But this didn't last for long, as in the next year, Janissaries and members of the Ulema revolted. Then, on August 48, 1648, the new Grand Vizier, Ahmed Pasha, was strangled and torn to shreds by an angry mob. That same day, Ibrahim was seized and imprisoned in Topkapı Palace. Mehmed, who was 6 years old at the time, was made sultan. And the new Grand Vizier, Sofu Mehmed Pasha, petitioned for Ibrahim's execution. It was granted with the message, if there are two caliphs, kill one of them. Kosem, Ibrahim's mother, also gave her consent. And one of the two executioners sent to kill Ibrahim was Ibrahim's chief executioner. And as officials watched from the palace window, Ibrahim was strangled to death on August 18th, 1648. He became the second regicide in the history of the Ottoman Empire. And that is the story of Ibrahim, the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. Apparently, no other sultans were given the name Ibrahim, probably for a reason. So right here we have some, I believe it's called Börek. It's kind of like a Middle Eastern pastry. You can fill it with cheese, vegetables, meat. I decided to go with chicken. So we're just gonna see how this tastes. I do wanna give a little disclaimer before I taste this that I did not have any of the red pepper paste that it had requested. So I just kind of left that out. It may be a little dry. By the way I'm looking at it now, it probably is a little dry. I did put some hummus on the side here to use if needed, but we'll see. Cheers. It's pretty dry. Like it's very dry. I could try it with the hummus. We could see if that's any better. I mean, let's try it. Take two. Okay, yeah, that's better. It did say that you could like serve it with like a yogurt sauce or something of that sort, so that does make it better. It makes it more tolerable, less dry. It's not bad. I don't think it's bad. It's just dry. And again, that could be my fault. I don't think it's necessarily the dish's fault. Like, the chicken is good, the seasoning is good, the pastry part is dry, but that's probably me. Well, that is it for now. If you enjoyed this, please let me know. If you did not enjoy this, please let me know. If you have any other food video kind of recommendations, please let me know. I'm gonna finish the rest of this now. Hopefully not choke. Bye-bye.